Welcome. I'm Janelle Kolaski, a career mindset coach and actor.
And I'm Amanda Dubois, a self-authenticity and prosperity life coach and actor as well. And we're your co-host of Mindset Artistry YouTube channel,
where we teach you the art of discovering and using your mindset
to build a career and life you desire.
Welcome back to Mindset Artistry podcast. We are here with the incredible Jen Cuoto and my co-host, who happens to be on another screen with me today, Janelle Kolaski. And so today we're just going to dive right into our conversation and our beautiful, amazing guest. Jen has been in the fitness industry for over 7 years and has recently come back from India, which, wow, with 500 hours of YTT. Her aim is to help women through the barriers that have led us to believe we are limited. Her belief is that through developing a spiritual practice and being mindful of personal well-being through movement and nutrition, we can have the joyful life we all desire. Now, I relate to that so much, especially as women. We have this ideology that we were brought up in, no matter what culture you may have been in, that everyone has a certain role. Everyone has a certain role within the dynamic of relationships, of parenthood, of friendships, of working, and all the things. So I love that that's your focus. How are you doing today? Start off there.
How am I doing today? I'm doing great today. I'm still from, when we talked, I landed back from India on March the 9th. Today's April the 5th, I believe. And I feel like I'm still landing. Like I'm still trying to get back onto these lands. Even with the time difference, but it's beautiful at the same time. I'm happy to be back and to start the integration process into what is now my reality, apart from that reality for that time.
Well, that's amazing. I want to know, if for those that may not understand what the 5 hours of YTT is, can you let us know what that was and how was it for you, that transition of leaving Canada, Toronto, to go to India for that much amount of time by yourself in a place that was unfamiliar to you, and then learn all these new things and experiences?
It's like such a layered question, but there's leaving. I've been saying this to people, leaving Toronto to travel to that side of the world, or just being on this side of the world, wherever you're coming from, to travel that distance is one journey. To come back is another journey, and then there's the time in between that you're there. It's all quite an experience, because there's different things happening in India. There's multiple countries that you're passing through. There's long layovers. There's the chaos of what's happening with airlines right now. So it's incredible. I don't know if everybody would say this that goes to India, but I feel like that the journey there is preparing, like mentally and emotionally preparing you for what is to come. Because your patience is tested, right? And we're human. There's like moments where you feel this rise of energy, like rage, like what is happening? And then you realize it's just stuff that's happening, and you're actually going to a place to deal with this better. So the 500 hours of YTT is yoga teacher training. That's what I went for. So I had to check myself essentially before I even landed in Rishikesh, India, just through the travel experience.
Amazing. I mean, you've got to practice what you preach. So, in order to provide services and help other people and women, is you have to also do it for yourself. And that's the journey of being of service and being a teacher, educator, or any form that is helping others to level them up in any form whatsoever. So what was your takeaway from going to India and for your personal growth as a yoga teacher that you brought with you, that you brought back with you?
So I would say there's two things, because I really thought that I was going to practice yoga. Like I thought it was going to be a yoga boot camp. Like I was going to get my ass physically handed to me, through extensive physical training. And it was not that. Asana is just a very small part of yoga. So what I found myself receiving there was a question of who are you in this space of service spiritually? And what do you want to embody, not just in your branding, but what you're embodying as a practice. Also, having come like from the fitness world, like how do I want to integrate these two things together? And so, what I've brought back is a more sense of knowing who I am, more sense of knowing what my purpose is in service through the tools that I have, yoga and fitness and nutrition. And I think just also the understanding the major part of yoga, which is the ability to detach, to have this open heart in every single thing that you're doing, but also to always stand outside of everything. And this integrates into everything, being a teacher, being a mom, like every piece of my identity. So I came back with a lot more than what I expected to. Yeah,
And
that's what I'll say.
and what would you say, like before going there,
Mhm.
compared to when you were actually there? Like if you had a meter to go by before going over there, were you like, no, I handle situations pretty well. I let things bounce off. Or were you the type of person that's like, everything is sticking to me? And then, so that's always interesting to me, like when somebody's in a completely different world, how it really tests them. So, I know you were saying it changed you and you got
Mhm.
more a different thing out of it than you expected, but how would you like, I guess if you could measure that, how would you
Mm.
measure that?
I would say that if I compare myself, like I feel like there's different experiences that enter our lives at different times that that are all here for our growth, right? So this particular experience, I guess maybe little like leaning into my ego a little bit, thinking like I got this, I'm cool, like I manage things pretty well, and then again going through some of these things where it's like how much do I need to be tested here? Like now I'm questioning like how much sanity can I have in these situations, where it really felt like it was going overboard. And then getting to India once you're there and you see that like the training is not all a bed of roses, there's a lot of heavy things that are actually happening that are really challenging. So it's like, okay, now I understand what the process of getting here was for, all the patience that I was trying to build. So to answer your question more clearly, it's I thought I had a good handle on things until I realized I had no idea. And this is actually a part of the teaching within yoga. Like just when you think you got it together in your asana practice or your meditation or your pranayama, like check yourself again because there's a lot more work to be done. So the humility of it all really catches you. It
Yeah,
never
well, I
ends.
find that I find that very encouraging in a funny way because I feel like really anything else? Can I just chill with the life lessons? Can I just hang for a bit without some type of turbulence? But this is great to
Mhm.
know. Nope, it's not going to stop.
Yeah, no, it is
But
here. It is here. And to me now, I'm like, okay, now I understand like how we have to get so comfortable with all of this discomfort because if you want to rise to the level that you say you do, like we say this, right? Like one of the
mhm.
things that was on me was like we asked for strength, but we don't realize like where did you think that was going to come from? Do you think he was just going to come out and say like, here you go, here's strength on a silver platter? Just know how to handle all the energy that comes with this required strength. So I think we can simmer it down because we can be complacent, right? And not push ourselves into these place of disease discomfort in the body. But then that's no fun. That's boring and the same.
Right, right, right. And then you don't get, like you said, to where you're going because it's
Yeah.
true. Amanda and I talk about trying to, I mean, even when we met, remember when we did that exercise in the acting class and we had to envision ourselves at a table already winning the awards and with our friends and all this stuff and we were all
Oh yeah.
sobbing and everything, but it's like becoming
Mhm.
her we're talking to us here, like whoever you are, however you identify, but
Yeah.
becoming her and like what is the bridge to get there? I love that. And what is your advice to people whenever like to when they're going through that and they just want to give up? Like what did you do?
I went and sought out yoga. This is what I did. I wanted to give up. There were so many like layers in my family dynamic. Being a mom, um, my fitness business. I couldn't fit into this box of what the fitness industry is. So I really struggled to be this spiritual fitnessy person. I couldn't really figure that out. So I was like, who did I think I was coming into this? How did I think that I could manage this? How did I think that I could create something different in this space? And then, it tanked. The fitness part of my business tanked. So I was like, okay, this is where I should be throwing in the towel. Let's just go back to getting a normal job and then yoga. And then the question was exactly that came up. Not, initially when I went, it was like, okay, maybe yoga will be the other thing that I can bring back and like, start actually developing a career with, to integrate. And then when I got there, it was more like, what are you doing this for? Is this for vanity? Is this for your own benefit? Is this for your own profit? And if you took that all away, would you still be here? So I think it's to seek something higher than yourself that speaks to the elevation of your integrity, not to the elevation of what you can receive, monetarily or materialistically, because we can have that all given and then it can be easily swept away at the same time. And so where do you stand in both of those scenarios? Yeah.
Oh my gosh, I love that. Dropping some gems here and some thought-provoking ideology and things to think about. I hope it resonates with everyone as I'm like going in the midst of the sunshine right now. I'm curious, your focus, you've studied, fitness for 7 years, and like kind of the pandemic kind of changed how you were going about your business because it kind of forced everyone to find new ways to reach your clients and members. How has that kind of barrier or that limitation affected your connection with your craft? I know you say now you seek yoga, but how has that affected you as a creative, really? And then also with your clients, how has it molded in this new world, as we kind of call it, the new world?
The new world as in like the new earth that we're in, or the new world that I've created for myself in this business?
I mean, the combination. I think it's a new world of now we have so much accessibility because we were forced to stay in and be kind of like hamsters in a cage for a while until we were able to be out in the world again. So how does that affect your work before and after, which is like a new world where it's like we actually lived through a whole pandemic. We all went through something at the same time. The whole world did. Like literally. Yeah. That is one of the biggest things I think people have forgotten, is that we, not just one city or somebody's family member, like the whole world went through COVID at the same time. It was a full-on world pandemic. And so how has that affected how you approach, let me rephrase it, how you approach your work from before the pandemic until as of and after or post-pandemic?
Wow. So the pandemic changed so many things for me in the way that I function within my business. But to answer your question better, I think it shifted the way I was thinking about my business, not just the structure of how I was running the business. Before the pandemic, I think a lot of people can relate to this, at least in the circles that I'm in right now. It was like a hustle and grind, that culture was really big before the lockdowns kicked off. And then we had all this downtime. So funny, we were in this moment of like fight and flight, right? Really hustling to make things work. And then instantly we were just thrown into rest and digest. And I don't believe that to be in any of those spaces for too long without balance is beneficial to any of us. So I think this is where a lot of us, our wheels really started turning. And so for me, again, I was really pushed into this thing of like, okay, I'm helping women lose weight. I thought this is the way that I needed to market myself in the online space because there needed to be before and after pictures in order to be recognized in the fitness business. And I hated every moment of it. And then everybody, once the excitement of being able to connect online started to wear off, and people were like, now this is too much. This is getting to be too much mentally and emotionally. There people were defaulting back to old ways of thinking and old eating habits. Like so many people talked about like, I'm not happy with my body and how I've really leaned into food and alcohol and all of these things, right, that were contributing poorly to their health. So I started to realize that first it starts with me. I realized that spiritually there was something lacking for me, and this inability for people to stick to the things that they ultimately desire: better health, better sleep, less anxiety, less fear, less shame, less worry about, what the future holds. It's like, okay, now we're entering this space where people don't actually give a crap about what they look like at this point. Now they're just like, can somebody come and help me save my sanity? And for me, I was like, I don't see any other way to that but through spirituality, not religion, but spirituality, self-seeking, who you are, what your values are, what you're really after as you come out of this mindset of what was I hustling and grinding for all this time, you know? So it's shifted the way I speak to people. It's like, I don't need to know what your goals are anymore. You don't need to tell me if you want to get into a size 8 or stand on your head. I don't care what it is that you want to do physically because we can get there, but I need to know why. Like what sort of pain are you in, at the deeper layers of you that you feel you need this shift? What is it that you feel needs fixing, which really just needs discovered, not fixing, you know? So
Yeah.
everything. Yeah. I don't feel like I have a business. I just feel like I'm just trying to connect with people on a soul level at this point. You know what I mean? The money can come and go. I don't care. I've been there a million times, but if I know that we can make a lot of magic happen as women. I know that we can make a lot of magic happen on the planet, period, for if we can come together. So this is more, it's not so much business anymore. Let's say it that way. It is more about connection and community. That's it.
I mean, I love all of that connection, community. Oh, wait, no, go ahead, go for it.
Well, and I love what you said before, and kind of what I'm hearing you say now is that, because that's something that I've even struggled with. So growing up, I did a lot for others, especially having a brother with autism. It's just you grow up a certain type of way where you just see the world differently and you just see people differently. But I didn't grow up with a lot of money. So I've always had that battle of like leaning into just believing that there will be, and then just the scarcity mindset based because of what my experiences were. And so it's like that balance, and it's hard for me. It is definitely hard for me to just be like, follow. I mean, we preach it and I'm trying, but I'm also just being very vulnerable here. It can be very hard for me at certain times to just be like, okay, just lean into, who you are and the love that you have and your light and what you're meant here to do. And everything's going to work out and you're going to be taken care of and the money and everything will come. But that is scary. I mean, it just takes, I guess, time to see it happen, I guess. Yeah.
I think it's the scariest thing in the world when we've been taught like that's all we've been taught is that we need the money. We have not been taught that we need each other more than we need the money. Because like if I tell you you're my sister, how am I going to let you starve? You understand? So if that's the case, then we don't need the money, right? If I can actually learn to trust and have faith in humanity again, then I don't need the money because we have each other. So I fear more of being alone after having gone through a lockdown where I felt alone. You know what I mean? I understand now that as long as I have people, like there will be a moment we're never down at the same time, right? So there will be a moment that I'm up and I can help you out and vice versa. But I think we need to really build on that. So I was having a conversation with a girlfriend just the other day, and she was saying the same thing to me, Jen. Like, I really look forward to getting back to community where I can tell, Sarah down the street as a single mom, like, we have the same kids. You can come bring your kids over. Like, don't worry about it. If you need a night to yourself, because women don't have this as mom. If you need a night to yourself, if you need some salt, whatever it is, come to me. But I'm like, yeah, but what are the chances that Sarah's actually going to call you? The chances of Sarah actually calling you despite your generous offer, because we're so rooted in this fear, we need to do everything alone, this hustle and grind. You know what I mean? So I think on a lot of different levels, understanding communication, understanding all the barriers that have been put up against us to keep us separate. We need to learn to dismantle those and come back to community, and then we're fearless. Like, what do we have to worry about?
I mean, that's beautiful. Just dismantling those barriers and limitations. And what have you found I know, like you said before, people are coming back and they're like, well, I'm not happy. I'm kind of back up to the weight that I was before, or if not worse. What have you found that has been one of the, I guess, the most damaging or restrictive behavior that has contributed to someone declining and or way worse?
Well, I think you're cutting out there. Yeah,
Oh.
Is that your Wi-Fi or mine? Yours?
Yeah, Amanda, you cut out a little bit.
Yeah. So I heard, what was the most defining moment of like being able, I guess, to help women turn around? I missed the last part. So sorry, it was cutting out.
Say it again, because I think my AirPods went out.
Oh, okay. Yeah, go ahead.
Yeah, so you were talking, and I was like, what are they saying?
We're like, Amanda's the most beautiful, wonderful woman in the world.
Okay, so I was asking,
Mhm.
we all kind of have these ebbs and flows of life. We can think we're taking like 5 steps forward, and the next thing you know, we're taking 20 steps back. What has been a commonality between, your clients, or something that's even come up for you that has brought you back 10 steps versus the, 2 or 3 steps that brought you forward, if I'm saying it better?
I know what you're saying. So you're asking, like, what have been some of the things that have been contributing to women's setbacks?
Yeah, one of the most common attributes.
I honestly, I think it's the fitness industry as a whole, because even I got sucked in. Here I was preaching, being like, I don't want to be a part of the fitness industry. I want to do my own thing. But the moment I went online and coaches were like, this is what you need to do, and this is what you need to tell clients to do, and I was like, okay, this is what I'm going to get people to do. And I was like, what am I teaching? I didn't count calories. I wasn't weighing myself every week. These are all of the things that I didn't believe in. And so I realized I was actually creating this cycle of damage. Because again, I'm telling you to get on the scale every week as though this is the only thing that you need to evaluate, not your mental state, not how you're feeling in your body. Like, and not to say we weren't talking about those things, but that scale for women is like, I could tell you, monitor your mental state. I could tell you, tell me how you're feeling. But the moment I tell you to jump on a scale, you forgot everything. That word to you is like everything. So I was like, oh my God, thousands of dollars for these coaching programs to tell me everything that I don't even actually believe in. But this is the mandate, right? And I believe that the statistic of people that revert back is 90%. 90% of people who achieve their goal revert back within the first 2 years, oftentimes worse than what they came in. So why is that? It's certainly for all these years that we've been trying to guide people to what we've deemed as better health by way of aesthetic has been not correct, because people are reverting back. right? So this to me, I don't even know this. I have no scientific proof of this, you guys, but for me, in my soul, if we connect back to our knowing, I feel like it is the lack of spirituality that keeps us from this space of like being able to just wake up every day for the rest of your life and being committed to that, to say, just how am I feeling today? What can I do better today than I did yesterday? Like that's really what we need to make lifelong change, right? The process of the scale and the measuring of the food and all of that stuff and getting to the gym 3 times a week, like these are not the things that sustainably create lifelong change. It's the desire to grow your mind to be better every day. And that comes from spirituality to me. So that's what I think has had practically everybody fall back. I've even said to my clients, like, don't be misled by what you see with all these coaches who are like, look, bam, 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 all these wonderful clients that have made progress. Look at these amazing before and after photos. I'm like, you need to contact them and ask them, out of all those people, how many people 5 years later have sustained that? That's the question that I would want to know. And nobody asks that question because they're stuck to those before and afters, you know?
I love that, and it just makes me think of in my own life. I mean, one time I had to lose a ton of weight for modeling. And I
Mm-hmm.
and I and I was like, "Okay, I will," and I did, and I was anorexic. I went from a size because 'cause I'm very determined, stubborn, as we know. Amanda knows I went to a class this morning, and I kept working even though my back went out. It's something I'm always working on. But I think I went from, because it's like junior sizes, I probably went from a size 10, 12 to a 4, 5 in 2 months because I wasn't eating, and I rode the bike with, like, whatever, these bags and stuff like wrestlers wear. Is I was so determined because I want to become a model, and they were like, "Well, if you get to this size by this time, you can do it." And I was like, "Okay, I will." And I did. And then I got there and they were just like, "Oh, we're so sorry, you're still not small enough." And like I was so proud of myself when I lost the weight, but then also I realized like I was looking for acceptance. I was looking for this thing, like I had this dream, of course, but also just that's why the spirituality really is everything. Because Amanda and I talk about this. We're not just mind, we're body and spirit, and we have to connect it all. And so it's just, I love that. And then that's why we're always talking about mindset, because Amanda and I hustlers hustle hard, you know
Yeah.
it's
Yes.
and like that's how I built a lot of my career. But then I started dying inside, or I would reach a milestone and I would be like, but I don't feel any different, you
This is
know
yes. I said the same thing with travel because after India, I was like, I need to get to this beach and like integrate and like chill. And then that couldn't happen. I had to come back home. But I was like, what am I looking for? Like this, I was thinking about packing all of my stuff up for 2 months and then like traveling with all this luggage to like different beaches. Like, what am I doing? And what is it that I'm seeking that I'm willing to put myself through this? Like, what is it that's not already here? So same thing. Like I think back to the places that I've traveled, it's like I have the same feeling when I sit on a mountain, in the Andes, to the Ganga in India, to, Cottage Dock right here in Ontario. It's the same feeling. And all that feeling is an immense gratitude for witnessing creation when you can see it from that place of gratitude, of love. So it's this, like you said, acceptance, that we're seeking, and this being able to say, I don't know, I've seen all these places and I've gone all these places, but like, what is that all for? This is what we need to ask. Like, what is the purpose of it all? You know?
Yeah, I love that. And like Nell said, I think there's this link that we have with everything around us, right? We are in
Hmm.
existence with everything. And I think we tend to forget that because we have this um, egotistical kind of mindset that comes up that we are the only thing that matters in this big, big world and universe that we can never grasp because we're probably never going to ever experience in our lifetime because it's impossible with technology, right? Um, but yet when you're able to tap into the reality of it is that we are on this floating planet and it's full of energy, and this
Hmm.
energy is also a part of us, and
Yes.
just like, I was talking about this constantly, and the past week has been coming up, is that we are going through these seasons just like the earth is, just like nature is. And we have
Mm-hmm.
to embrace those things, and especially those aspects about ourselves, and embracing the unknown aspects of ourselves too. We always want to grasp for answers. We always want to know it all. And it's like sometimes
Mm.
we don't need to know it all. We just need to feel. We need to
Yeah.
experience. And it is what it is. Like we are as is, right? And it's very difficult, and I'm not saying it easy, it's not easy, trust me, because we have all these expectations, these limitations, these barriers, roles that are required of us, right?
Yeah.
Especially women, that we have to show up for, we have to perform, kind of like monkeys
Mm-hmm.
at the zoo, honestly, or in the circus. It feels that way, especially
Yeah.
if we have, work, we have children, we have relationships, just everyday responsibilities, and then we are coming against other people who are now not addressing their troubles, their hardships, their pain and suffering. So now we're getting affected by that energy. So how can you, all of that, right? Like, oh my God, this is like so much. The train
That's
is
weird.
late. It's raining today. Those little things that we
Yeah.
don't get affect us, but it's like, how do you get through those moments, which is what you're saying is spirituality, the root of it. And if you don't relate to spirituality, that's absolutely okay, whether you want to say religion or anything, but it's your center, it's your core, it's
Yeah.
your light within. Like, what is that for you? And when you
Mm.
understand that aspect of yourself, you're able to flow through the world a lot better. You're able to flow through the
Mm-hmm.
world and understand and have a lot more empathy, able to connect with people on a deeper level. I think a lot of
Mm-hmm.
also, because of social media and all the things that technology and the cell phones, it's become so superficial. It's like the top layer. And it's very
Mm-hmm.
hard for people to get a little bit deeper with others because we fear judgment. We fear
Totally.
these negative personas or opinions about us. And so I'm curious on, oh no, I saw your hand like kind of creeping. Do you have something? Wait.
Oh, yes, just very fast because my gosh, Jen, you have so much beautiful information to share with us and I love it. But I was just
Mhm.
thinking of even today, like it's kind of funny because I've found that so interpersonal relationships can really rock me because I'm very like focused on that. But when something wild happens, like Saturday, I was broken down in a van for 7 hours. I was like, beautiful day. They get some food. I'm hungover, so this is helpful. Or even like today, but even like the flow today, it's like my back went out, and then I did cry because I was like, not again, because I've been through this before and it sucks. But then
Mm.
it was like I got to the acupuncture place, and then the woman took me back. I started sobbing, and she was so kind to me, and also she was a
Oh.
teacher. And then like this guy, the doorman on the streets, helping me, and it's so funny because it's like what you're saying. Like I had to learn to be such like a strong, independent, like my mother was all like, always be able to take care of yourself, don't rely on a man, but also like, she was believed in women being strong and all this stuff. But a lot of times people were taking care of my brother and a lot of focus was on him. So I was out doing things myself. And that's why I'm such a hustler and so driven because I was like, if I need things to happen, like nobody's giving it to me. But I was like way too far. Because like today I'm
Mm.
hurt, I'm meeting all these beautiful people and I have to literally, Amanda knows, like I have to be like crippled for me to see the beauty and accept help. It's so crazy and be like, "Look, I'm fine. Like this doorman I don't know is helping me get in the building. Like I'm surviving." But it's so funny
Yes.
because it's just and I love connection, but like as Amanda you were saying, it's like the social media makes it weird. So anyway, everything's great. I'm so excited about this conversation.
This is
Back to
so
Jen.
beautiful. 'Cause yeah, as I'm hearing you say this, I'm like thinking of all these things, right? All these teachings that came, like what you just described right there is like you are so in your masculine energy where there's always like so much doing that you're doing because of the way that you've been brought up to do. And like literally, this is so crazy, but like it's almost like you have to be debilitated. And so the universe shows you that in order for you to be to allow that feminine energy to be to soften and to like let someone else come in and do the work to take the load off. Because I learned this, like this masculine feminine thing that we hear buzzing around is so needed, not only in our like personal relationships with other people of the opposite sex, but in within our own selves, right? Like we are so to the other side of this like doing, and this is where we can fly off the deep end with it. You know, there was crazy enough, India had so many teachings, like right down to a physiotherapist that I saw in India. And she said to me, like, all these Westerners come and they're like, what's this spirituality thing? Like, I need to grasp it. Like, I came here for a month or 2 months and I need to know like what this is. So, you know, she's got her mantras chanting in the background as she's doing her work, and she's just a beaming soul, right? So everyone's like, this God thing that you talk about, do you see? And she's like, yeah. And they're like, oh my God, tell me how. I need to know how. And she's like, what are you talking about? It's right here in front of me. And people can't grasp this, right? And it's right back to what you're saying, Amanda, is like we're so busy in the superficial things, in the, you know, the tire getting blown, the back going out, the gym that you need to get to, the food that you need to cook, the children, the titles, the labels. It's like, if you could just stop for a second to like observe whatever your belief system is, like the wildness of our existence. You know what I mean? The creatures, the plants, the blessings, the movement, what your eyelashes do for you. Like when Justin Bieber had this thing happen to him and they were like, he could go blind if he can't blink his eye. And I was like, my God, our eyelashes, down to our eyelashes that we take for granted, dude. Like it's crazy. And the reason why this is why yoga is such a special thing, because it forces you to sit down with your chaotic mind and get into meditation, and not a prayer or a ritual that somebody told you to do, but just direct access for a second for you to understand that beyond all of this, there is more to you, you know? And then once you have that, like nothing can be stolen, even in the chaos. You know, this is the physio again. She told me, you know how many times, Jen, I'm so tired because this is yoga. People do crazy things. They push themselves to places that they shouldn't. So she's busy. You know, sometimes she said it's like 12 hours and she's like, okay, got enough. Like I have enough business. I'm done. And she said she doesn't sleep, but she'll sit and she'll meditate. And this like force of energy comes over her and she's like right back on her game and good. You know?
That's incredible. That's so good. I think it's so interesting. You talked about like it's a combination, or not even a combination, but just balance. There's this idea that we are constantly in balance. We have the masculinity and the femininity. And like Nell, I grew up in a. I think it has to do with also your cultural background and what your situations are, your circumstances are. That there's always this concept of fight or flight. And if you only know how to fight, you're going to implement that as you get older in everything that you do because you know nothing else.
Yeah.
And it becomes very difficult, like Nell, to ask for help. I'm guilty of that as well. You know, very difficult because like, why would I ask for help if I know I can do it myself?
But can we
and are they
really
gonna
do it
come
all?
through? No, we can't. Well, it's a trust thing. It's a trust thing too. I'm like, I don't trust people to come through. I had so many examples of me like being like, okay, I'll wait for someone to help, and then they didn't. So I was like, I'm gonna do it before you can fail me. So yeah, it's great. Working through it, you know, working through it still. We're gonna get there.
Yeah, it's so true though. It's hard.
Yeah, it's very hard. I mean, Nell knows, for the simple fact that it took me a while to, like, I was always the one to start projects and try to get people together, and then things would fall through, and then it becomes that I get discouraged from the projects. I even talked myself out of doing things because I'm like, oh, it's going to be too much work. It's not going to go smoothly. I'm making scenarios, right? I'm already digging myself in deeper holes that probably would never happen, or if they do, I know a solution is out there, but I'm already talking myself out of opening that door, walking up towards it and asking for help. And And it's one of the reasons why I was able to do this podcast with Nell, because we kind of understood like the doers, and then we both realized like, wait a minute, we're doing a lot. We need to slow down. Like we had to take it back, and I was like, let's take it back, because as Aries, we both are. We want quick results. It's one of the things that we've learned, and I'm curious on how, if at all, your clients have expected quick results and didn't get those results, how they handle it and how you handle it as a trainer and a teacher.
Oh yeah, this is again going back to before, right? Like we live in the culture where we want fast results. Like again, going back to the physio in India, one of the teachings that she also gave me, so many, but she was saying, people would also ask about Ayurvedic remedies, okay? Because Ayurvedic remedies are plant medicines, essentially, right? To heal different ailments that are coming up or symptoms that are coming up in your body. And they want it to be as quick as Tylenol, as quick as Advil, okay? The thing is that with Ayurveda, it's a system and it's a way of living. It's a thing that you always default to. You always come back to natural, holistic. So if you're like living this life where you're eating fast food and then you want to try and quickly lean into Ayurvedic plant medicine, like your structure internally is not set to absorb that even. So it ain't going to work for you. The Tylenol is going to work for you. So people have a really hard time processing the amount of time that this takes. And then social media gives this idea, also very damaging, this before and after. You don't see the work in between. This is a lot of the reason why when I'm doing videos with yoga, I'm like, this is actually what it is. I fall on my ass quite a bit. You know what I mean? I look ridiculous quite a bit. It isn't this beautiful, sexy flow that people do 15 takes to get on camera. And then when I take my classes through things and they're falling over and they're like, I can hear them huffing and puffing, I'm like, this is yoga. What you see is not yoga. It's messy. It's challenging. It is going to ask yourself how bad you want to do this. And again, what you're doing this for, just so you can have a cute picture, or because you actually want to learn to ground into your space and sit with discomfort and be able to handle it gracefully through an easier managed breath or easeful breath. So that's kind of a picture of where I was, when I was in the fitness industry and trying to fit into the box of being that particular coach. I fully admit I couldn't guide people in the right direction because I was also like, yes, I need to try and figure out a way to get you to feel comfortable and move faster so that you can be happy and stick around. And again, missing that spiritual piece, that's not sustainable. That's not actually where anybody wants to be. You want to learn to embody, to breathe through the process, to build tolerance, to build resilience, to build strength. And these things take time. So it's also helped me to shift how I think and how I talk to people and communicate these things. Yeah, but it's difficult, no doubt, in the society that we're in, where everything is quick.
I love that, because again, it becomes, only have when I've gotten, I wouldn't say older, but I've gotten wiser. Let's say older,
We get wiser.
Speak what, words are spells, but that's a whole nother thing.
Yeah.
That's a whole nother conversation. But I want to know, and you talked about just listening and talking and everything, is what would be your best advice for someone out there who is dealing with a struggle or their barrier or feeling limited life and even their body or mental state? What would be your advice? I know you talk about, find that spirituality, but what would be a great starting point for them to embark on that journey and then continue?
There's two things. I think the first is I always come back to the community piece, because we think we can do everything alone. We want to do everything alone. We feel like we should do, like there's all this nonsense and talk around being alone, right? And it's such a lie. It's such a lie. It's no place to be at all. In every scripture that you've ever looked at, it all talks about fellowship, all of it. So whatever that looks like for you, that has to be the very first thing that you attach to. And this also goes back to, I didn't work in mental health. I facilitated a workshop in a place where people were reintegrating back into society after coming through trauma, like homelessness, financial hardship, all kinds of things. And they had already been through clinical therapies. And by far, they said that sitting in a room and talking to people and sharing, exchanging relatable stories is what gave them hope to take the next step. So we have to be careful in those spaces too, because you don't want to be in a space where you're perpetuating the same conversation. It needs to be that you state your challenge and then move forward and this was the whole program. Actually, it was creating an action plan. So when I get into this state of crisis, what are the things and the people and the tools and the places that I need in my life in order to move forward? So community is essential, but I also think we need to really understand that as energetic beings, right? Understanding, because a lot of people think this is like fluff, right? The energy piece of everything. But when a thought becomes a feeling, you cry or you get angry or you get happy. So we are energetic beings. To whatever level you understand that, doesn't matter, but just to understand that concept that there is an energy that runs through your body that takes you in different directions in your life. And so for me, I think when you can understand the chakras, the energy centers of the body that in fact are proven by Dr. Joe Dispenza no longer to be fluff. He's got a whole series called Rewired on how energy moves through the body. And when you listen to the science and you hear the ancient scriptures written and on this topic, and then you draw the connection, you have the understanding, and now you're like, oh man, when this energy is stuck right here, the anxiety, or like, I don't feel like I'm smart enough, or I don't feel like I'm good enough. And it sits right there and you know exactly what it means and how to move it. It's over. It's over. Whatever things you had that were stopping you from getting to the gym or cooking the meal or being the parent that you wanted to be or stepping into a space that you were like, it all goes. It all goes. So community and getting a handle on your energetic body and actually working through however you want to identify it. People don't like to say trauma, we've all got it, but not everybody's comfortable saying that. So your difficulties, your challenges, your blockages, whatever that is, understanding that is your ticket to wherever it is that you're trying to go.
Oh my gosh, that's beautiful. It's like liquid gold for you. And Nell
Yeah.
and I were just talking about this on our live this past Sunday about, breathing into the space because, our body remembers. We tell our body what to feel and like emotionally. And like you're saying,
Yes.
energetically, we're telling our body. And if we're not addressing it, our bodies become like you said, storage boxes and storages. So if you're not tending to it, ailments come up.
Yeah.
Pain comes up. Why does my back constantly hurt? Nell's doing all the healing for that, but
Oh, it's funny. No, but it's interesting because even I did an acting Alexander technique class. And in Alexander technique, we were just last week and I was talking about it. I was like, oh yeah, I know this is a problem. Talking about how the job I mostly do where I'm standing at attention, I'm not allowed to be athletic because a size 8 woman isn't supposed to be athletic. Still, this is the mindset. So I would actually be fired if but my body, because everybody's body is different. Some people don't have to exercise out as much. Mine has been caving in on itself. I think because I was a dancer for probably 20 years and then stop exercising. I do little things, but you can't go And so, but it was also talking about energetics. Okay, so I'm like, okay, I know I'm standing all day doing this job where I'm not allowed to be completely myself and my body's caving in because of the physical. But then I go to this
Mm.
acting Alexander technique, and the physical caving in on itself is also manifesting energetically because I'm afraid to put my shoulders back because people talk about my shoulders, or I don't want to be seen because I don't want other people to feel small, or I don't want to be seen because what if people see something I don't want them to see? Whatever is going on. And the hips,
Yeah.
and then, but then Amanda and I are talking, eventually you think like one day, because everyone's like, well, how will I know what to do? And I was like, where are the signs? And it's just like everywhere I'm going, it's like, it's your back, bitch. Fix your back. Let go of the fear.
Your body tells you. Your body will tell you, and it's like
Yeah.
or whatever you believe in. It's like if you're ignoring a problem and like or a challenge, and you're ignoring to address it, ignoring something you got to heal with yourself, or you got to change what If you're talking about the corporate world weaknesses and things like that, I'm gonna ignore it, that kind of stuff, and continue to ignore it. Trust me, it will be slapped in your face like a pie, like a
Yeah.
whipped pie, because
Yeah.
if it's something that you need to work on, and if you don't, you will never surpass the level that you're on now, whether it's mentally, physically, or emotionally, or spiritually. So it's something, and again, it's going to start showing up not only in one area but all areas of your life. And this is where like the unaddressed energy starts affecting. Why am I angry all the time, or sad all
Mm-hmm.
the time? Why am I in pain
Mm-hmm.
all the time? My brain is constantly clouded. I'm not sleeping properly. Like,
Yes.
I'm overeating.
Yeah.
I'm drinking too much.
Yeah.
And all these things that can come up because you're trying to suppress or solve a problem that you're not addressing because you don't know, you're not identifying it, which is what you were talking about. Like, you have to identify that feeling within you, or that
Yeah.
emotion, that energy. Once you identify it, don't stay there too long, meaning that I know, and now that's just who I am all the time. I'm
Yeah.
always
No.
that. Like, no, it doesn't have to be a reality. It's just showing you something that should be healed or worked on,
Yes.
so that you can overcome it. It's a challenge, it's a lesson, however you want to.
Yeah.
You said there's just so many different ways of approaching it. And you just gotta find what way works for you. And this is like you said before, um, stop looking at everyone else's
Mm.
solutions and really finding out what works for you, and diving deeper into these results that everyone has.
Yes.
Really figuring out and diving deeper into like, well, um, how often, and like you said, did they keep up with their diet and that physique 5 years from now?
Yeah.
What habits did they take from that and they're implementing in their life daily? These are all
Mm-hmm.
the things that, again, always is rooted back to the spirituality, your center, your core, or I mean, your humanity, your love, your light. However, I think there's
Everything.
so many different ways of saying it. I think I try to make it so that people can attach to one thing. If you get one word, fine, go with it, run with it. But because we all, again, are energy and beings that learn, so we don't necessarily also learn the same way too, but also find
That's
what
right.
works for you. And I'm sure
Totally.
you've learned that from your fitness world and transitioning from the corporate world, which we didn't get to talk about, but you transitioned from a corporate world into
Mm-hmm.
doing fitness. So tell me a little bit about just that transition of deciding that,
Mm.
leaving the corporate world and going, all right, I'm gonna do something that's a bit more creative, that's a bit more active, that's a bit more connected. What was that like for you, and what was that moment that you said, "Aha, I'm done"?
Mm. I I actually owe that to a few girlfriends of mine because it was like I was a young single mom with 3 kids. I had them very quickly. I gained a lot of weight with them, and this is coming from like I was a small girl before I had kids. So I was always complimented on that, and I had this like big beautiful hair, and then when my body shifted, it's like I wasn't noticed anymore, you know? So that really took a toll on me, and I had 3 small kids. So I couldn't go anywhere. I couldn't do anything. So it was just me in this corporate world for a while. And then my kids got old enough to go to martial arts. And then they sucked me in, right? They're like, you sit here and you wait for your kids. You may as well join a class. So I went ham like 4 days a week. And then I was feeling really good. And my girlfriends were like, if this is something that you love to do, like go back to school. And I sat on that for a little bit. And then as my kids got a little bit older, and I was like, okay, I'll do it and hope that it goes somewhere. And then so that was the start. That was the start of it. Where and in between that, like school and working in the corporate world, putting myself through school, it was like fast cash, right? So the hospitality industry. Um, but at the time that I was seeking going into fitness, it was like all the craze, right? When I was doing the career search and like, what was life going to be like in this world? It was like fitness is going to be booming. There's going to be tons of money in the industry. And I was like, yeah, that's what I want. And that's what I'm going for, not not considering again, like all of the mental, emotional challenges that would stand in my way. Like I smoked for 20 years, that was a challenge. And then going into, well, man, there are so many things. There were so many layers, and in that space, it was like, okay, I can't get into the fitness industry because I'm a smoker. But if I don't get into the fitness industry, I'm never going to quit smoking. So this has to be the catalyst to like my evolution. And it was a struggle for the first 4 years of my personal training thing. Like it was that addiction had me, and that was the last piece of the old self that needed to go. And then when it did, I was like, oh, okay, this is actually for me. Health is here for me, and this industry is my thing, my jam. So a lot, and all of it was just rooted in desire. Like I just wanted to do more, and I was trying to figure it out. And truly, I also went to school because I had such anxiety about being in the gym, like to the point where I couldn't get past. I don't know if it's the same thing down there where you guys are, man, but I hate the way our gyms are set up here. All of the cardio equipment that the women never move past is in the front. And if you want to get to the weights, you got to go down the runway, you got to move through the sea of men, that are there to get to the weight. And nobody does that. So it's like, I would try and it was like paralyzing. I just couldn't get there. I was like, okay, maybe if I go to school and I learn what I'm like to know, to be confident in what I'm doing, I'll be able to walk my ass back there. Like, yeah, I was willing to drop thousands of dollars just to get rid of that feeling. Yeah. So a lot of different pieces that had me take the jump, but it was necessary,
Yeah, it's beautiful. I mean, I love just there were so many, like you said, so many pieces and factors that brought you to the one thing that was going to take you to the next level. But that was the commitment, the persistence, and the passion, and desire. Those are the things that will get you there because, we all set goals, and sometimes the goals aren't right, and for what we actually want because they don't really align with the life that we desire because we're making goals based on somebody else and not our actual truth. And so, and then the results aren't as quick. And to hear you say that, you struggled for the first 4 years of that.
Yeah.
And you stuck it out.
Oh, so many times I wanted to stop.
Yeah, I'm sure. I mean, I'm sure throughout that 4 years, I'm kind of lighting it up a bit, but I'm sure throughout those 4 years, you woke up many times and decided, I don't want to do this. I'm going to go back to the old ways. Or, the person that I was because it's comfortable. It's something that I know. It's not hard.
It's not as hard.
Yeah. It's not as hard. I mean, it is hard, but it's a hard that I know. It's not a hard that I don't know. And I'm like, I don't know what's coming next. I don't know how it's going to affect me emotionally, physically, mentally, or even my environment. And so how did that journey pan out for you, or at least affect your outer world? Like, you were a single mom with kids, young. How did that affect that relationship and even the world around you?
Oh man, that was like, I spent a lot of time like busy in school and work, with having the kids. So looking back, I think we spoke about this earlier too, like there was time lost. There was time lost and time that I'll never get back, and there was a period of time because my kids are now 21, 19, 17, and there was a period of their early teenage years where it was very difficult. They were rebelling against mom. There was a lot of resentment, a lot of things that were coming out because they couldn't quite communicate. Um, or maybe they didn't feel that they could communicate to me, exactly why they were so pissed, but now that they're older, I'm sure they're still holding on to things. We hold on to a lot of things, based on our upbringing. But the most important thing for me is for them to see that the commitment to whatever it is that you're after and that you truly believe in is the most important thing. Like circumstances will happen. You can be upset with me for whatever it is that you assumed. We can talk about that stuff. But at the end of the day, we have to do things that are purposeful in this life, and that are for our forward progress. And so for me, I couldn't have my kids seeing me in that state of this unhealthy mom who was just stressed out with being a single mom who was smoking herself to death and like literally and drinking, as I was in the hospitality industry, it was like 1-2 drinks here and there, but nothing to my benefit. I needed them to see me come out of that, even at the risk of them being upset with me, because if they could see past all of the mistakes, and see that I'm just a human trying to do better, then hopefully that'll also speak to them, as they move through their life and they make mistakes. It's inevitable. It's gonna happen. But to let them know that it's okay, you can keep going. I think the worst thing that we can do is think that like whatever it is that we're going through, we have to judge ourselves through and we have to hold on to it and get angry with and not take these big strides in fear of disappointing somebody even more. You know what I mean? Like all this downward spiral that doesn't end up moving us or anybody else in our circle, be it our kids or our partners, forward with us. So a lot, but all for a greater purpose, I think. I hope, I'm still trying to navigate it because I'm still a mom in this life. I'm sure I'll make a few more mistakes along the way, but I'm also very transparent with the mistakes that I've made in hopes that my kids will learn and grow with me. I really believe that we have to come away from the culture of thinking that we can control our kids or tell them what to do and yet somehow not embody it. Like I would hear women say, I need to lose weight because I want to make sure that my kids are eating healthy and all this stuff. And it's like, yeah, but are you embodying it? Like you feel like you need to do this thing, but are you embodying a healthy lifestyle so that they are watching by example? My kids didn't eat healthy for the longest time because this is not something that I practiced when they were small, right? But as time went on and I left them alone, I was like, okay, I can't fight with them anymore. I got to let this go. And I just kept on doing my thing. Then over time, they were like, hey, mom, can I get a gym membership? Right? Or a salad was on their plate. I never thought I'd see the day of that come. You know what I mean? So I was like, okay, I'm doing something right in this regard right now, Yeah.
That's beautiful. I mean, wow. I mean, we talked in depth about that and relationships with parents and that difficulty, especially with mother and a mother and their children, and us having our own individual experiences and how we're doing the best that we can with what we got based on our habits and experiences and circumstances. And only at the end of the day, it's our responsibility. As adults, as children, we don't understand it and we're not meant to. We see the world in such a brighter way, which is beautiful. But as you get older, you realize that your mom, your dad are just human beings. They were adults. They're adults, just like I am now. And I love that you have this willingness and openness about admitting that in order for my children to live the life that I desire for them as well, because as a mother, you want your children to be better than you were. I have to set the example. I have to start with me. And I have nothing else to show them. And at least let them see it from me. At least let them see that I can change it and so can they.
Yeah. That's exactly it.
How difficult it can be being a single mom, you did it, you're doing it. And it is a constant roller coaster and journey. I will let everybody, you're never going to have all the answers. You're
No.
never going to have the answers. And probably until the day you get on the deathbed and you're 90 something years old and you finally click and go, and that's what's going to happen. I got it. Like, that's tell me, what was it? What was it? Right? You're probably never gonna get into that like last moment, and you got the aha. Right. You're like, I know life now. But and the journey is the life. The journey is the purpose. It's a part of it. Without it, then what are we doing? We're just kind of skating through life. We're kind of like zombies and robots, but we're not really experiencing the lessons and the journey and the beauty of life. And so thank you for sharing that with the audience and with myself, because I know that can be difficult, especially as women, which is why you got into that work with your fitness and now with the amazing yoga. So, chiming in, and we're going to be closing up a bit.
Yes, we have to get off of here. We could talk to you forever, Miss Jen. But no, I do appreciate that. No, it's so wonderful, and it's so encouraging for all the moms out there, because even it's just like, I'm not a stepmom, but there's been these little girls in my life for 3 years now. And it's a lot, because you're like, I have a lot going on. We all have a lot going on. And I'm like, oh my God, there's like these little eyes on me, and I don't want them to ever. But then I'm like, I want to be honest with them. Like, I had like a little bit of a breakdown, because I was really missing my family in front of them. And I was like, oh my God, I look crazy. But then like I calmed down, and I was able to just be like, I mean, I didn't take it out on them. They were like present. They were just in the background. Here was Jelly crying, but I was just like, it's nothing to do with you or anything going on here. I just really miss my family. So, but it was really scary, because I was like, I don't know. Because, growing up, my mom was just kind of very stoic. She's very sensitive, but she wouldn't let people see her cry, but she would try to protect me in that way. So it's like this whole new mentality, because she's also knows that I'm very sensitive, and she would just kind of be like, you need to get over and wash your face. Get over and wash your face. Because she didn't want me to be in pain, So. And then I've had some men in my life kind of be like, get it together. Those little girls shouldn't have to see you like that, or you need to be more confident. But I was like, but then when they're missing their confidence in those moments, they're going to be like, well, Janelle was always confident, and now I'm not. I don't know. It just seems like a lot not to just be completely vulnerable. You have good days and bad days. There's some days you feel gorgeous, and other days you don't.
Yeah, I think as we make this shift as women, right, to come out of all the roles and titles and the pressures, the best thing that we can do, even for men, like men and children, like we're in so much shit from like a climate and global perspective. We got so much going on. Again, coming back to that community piece, we need spaces to sit with all of our stuff. And then we can talk about all the beautiful and positive things. But like this bypassing that we've been doing has not been effective, not for our kids, not for like, I'm looking at my parents as seniors now, like they're a mess because they're in that era of not having to be able to process their emotions and given their space. Like, and it's just so liberating, like to be angry and be able to express that in a healthy way is liberating. To cry, like I always used to be like, I'm such a crier, I need to stop crying. And now I'm like, I cry for everything. I cry when things are beautiful, when things are sad, when I'm angry, like I cry, and it's an expression of who I am. So I think it's super healthy to, whether there are kids or not our kids, to just like, let's sit with it and talk about it. And there's always a way to come through it, but when we are not taught to manage it, it's like we can get stuck in these emotional spaces where it's like, I'm just going to be pissed off at you forever, or I'm going to be passive aggressive or ridiculous. Like all these things that we don't need to put ourselves through as humans. We've got far too much else to work on that's more productive, like just talk it out.
Yeah. I mean, I love that. I think that's beautiful too, because, and now you're teaching them like healthier habits instead of ignoring it like the old generations. Like my parents did it, their parents did it, and there was reasons for it as well. They didn't have the space for it. There were particular circumstances that they couldn't even do it either. There was no opportunity for them to do that because then they were taken advantage of.
Yeah.
They were beaten up on, or they were in a particular household or laborish kind of work that didn't allow that, because then it made you get less work or be put in a corner. And so that affected your livelihood. So there was you got to be strong, suck it up, so there was reasons that they had to do those things. But now compared to our modern day, those survival things and survival mentalities, flight or fight or fawn, it's really, you have to find healthier ways to address them. And by doing that is looking to your community, like myself, Jen, and Janelle, which is why we created Mindset Artistry, to create a space that you can talk about it and not be judged, not be ridiculed. This is a safe space to know that you're not alone. And even if we look like we got it okay, sometimes we have our bad days. Nell has her bad days. Nell knows I have my bad days. We all have it. So
yeah.
Yes, I just want to wrap it up here. I want to thank Jen for joining us today. For those who are interested in connecting with you, how can they reach you?
Yeah. Okay. So I've always got a lot of stuff going on, like in-person events. And so the best way is just through Instagram, because I'll always put everything that I got going on up in my link tree. So you can reach me it's so funny that you mentioned Becoming Her, Elle, because it's Revealing Her, actually, is the name of my company.
Yes.
So it's revealing.her. Is it revealing.her? Oh my gosh. There might or there might not be a dot.
Okay, I'll put it in the info below. We'll make sure we have it in info below. So Instagram.
Yes.
Beautiful. Thank you again so much for joining us today. We can have part 2, 3.
What are your thoughts about this episode? Drop it in the comments and let us know what you want to dive into next. Subscribe, like, share, and click the link below to book a free consultation. And we'll see you next time.